Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I'm going to give my reading wrap-up for the week of September 29th through October 5. I completed 3 books this week, so I'm going to give reviews of those books. I read parts of 4 books, so I'm going to talk briefly about those 4 books. I got 2 new books, so I'm going to talk briefly about those 2 books. I'm going to talk about the Wobble I'm working on. I'm going to talk about the Lego set I'm working on, and probably some other events going on in my life. The first book I completed that I'm going to talk about is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I read this book as part of the Tiachu book club, moderated by Tiachu on Fable. Before I give my review of the book, I'm going to read a brief author bio, which I got from the back of the book. Liz Moore is the author of the New York Times bestselling novel Long Bright River, which was a Good Morning America book club pick and one of Barack Obama's favorite books of the year, as well as the acclaimed novels Heft and The Unseen World. Winner of the 2014 to 2015 Rome Prize in Literature, she lies in Philadelphia. A wealthy family, the Von Laars, have a summer mansion in upstate New York in a heavily forested area. The 2 children of Peter Von Laar III and his wife Alice disappear at different times from the area. Their son Bear disappears in 1961, and their daughter Barbara disappears in 1975. The story is told in multiple POVs and multiple time frames from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and different times in those decades also. So there's a lot of POVs, a lot of timelines. The book is part mystery with local law enforcement trying to figure out what happened to the 2 children. And it's part thriller because there were a lot of tense scenes in the book. We learn the backstories of the characters whose POVs are told. There's a lot of misogyny in this book. Men toward women, women toward other women, and women towards themselves. The misogyny was hard to read at points. One of the men brutally beat one of the women. The misogyny and the beating were really hard to read. The attitudes, especially of men toward the women, but even some of the women toward other women, were hard to read for me. There were some scenes where law enforcement were trying to pin the crimes on innocent people so that the wealthy wouldn't be held accountable. That made me angry. Overall, I like the book, though. I just want to mention some of the issues that people might have with it, because I had those issues too. I didn't struggle really much with the multiple POVs and multiple timelines, but I can understand if people would. I think the author is asking a lot of her audience to all those many, many views and many times. The book was never boring to me, but it did seem a little too long, which may seem a contradictory statement, but it's almost 500 pages. I recommend this book to anyone who wants to read a good thriller mystery. Just be cautious if the issues I described are troubling to you, both the misogyny, the beating, and the issues with the police I mentioned. And also, perhaps more than that, the multiple POVs and timelines. That makes this book not for everyone. But as I said, I really enjoyed it. It was quite thrilling. It did. Some scenes made me sad, some made me angry, but it was a hard book to put down. I rated it 4 stars. The second book I completed this week was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Before I talk about the book, I'm going to give a brief author bio, which is actually abbreviated from what I gave in a previous video where it was quite long. Agatha Christie is the most widely published author of all time in any language, outsold only by the Bible and Shakespeare. Books have sold more than 1 billion copies in English and another billion in 100 foreign languages. She is the author of 80 crime novels and short story collections, 19 plays, 2 memoirs, and 6 novels written under the name Mary Westmacott. This story is set in a small English village in the 1920s. It's told in the first person by a local doctor. Famed detective Hercule Poirot is retired and he moved in the house by the doctor. partly to raise plants in his garden. He makes the acquaintance of the doctor in a rather amusing way. Not too long after the story starts, of course, not surprising, there's going to be a murder, and there was. A local wealthy resident was murdered, and the remainder of the story is Poirot, the doctor, and local law enforcement trying to solve the murder. I found the solution to the mystery really clever. Poirot is his typical vain, condescending, and fastidious individual that we know and love. I found the other characters in the book interesting, even if I didn't like them all. I thought the solution to the mystery was complex but satisfying. I enjoyed reading things as they unfolded. This wasn't a book that I was ever bored with. The last 2 or 3 Hercule Poirot books that I read, I didn't particularly enjoy, and especially the last one, Halloween Party. So I was thinking that maybe Hercule Poirot is no longer for me, but this book changed my mind. It may have just been the wrong time for the other books, although I think others didn't like Halloween Party that much. But this book, is, as well as the Murder at the Vicarage, the Miss Marple book I talked about in a recent video that I quite enjoyed too, it got me back thinking that Agatha Christie is for me. I don't have anything particular in mind to read going forward, but this book did renew my faith that Hercule Poirot books are enjoyable for me. I recommend this book for anyone who wants to read a really good mystery set in a small English town in the 20s with a clever solution. My only proviso is that because the book is set in the 20s, it does show the social mores of that time, and some may have issues with that, and I'm not knocking it because I frequently have issues with that thing too, those type of things too. But in this book, I was okay with that. If you have problems with the issues I described, this book might not be for you. I rated it 4 stars. The third book I completed this week is Scream Queen by Yvette Fielding and Martin Sterling. Before I talk about the book, I'm going to give a brief author bio of Yvette Fielding. Yvette Paula Fielding, born 23 September 1968, is an English television presenter, producer, actress, and writer. In 1987, age 18, she became the youngest presenter on the BBC television program Blue Peter. With her husband Carl Beatty, she presented the Most Haunted series on the Living Channel via their own production company, followed by Ghost Hunting with, establishing Fielding as First Lady of the Paranormal. She has appeared in a wide range of other programs from The Right Stuff to Through the Keyhole and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. This is a memoir of Yvette Fielding's life so far. She talks about her youth. She talks about her first experience as a presenter on the show Blue Peter when she was 18. She talks about later shows when she was a presenter. She talks about how she met her husband Carl, how they came up with the concept of Most Haunted, how they sold the concept. She talks about spin-off shows she did. She talks about the most notable Most Haunted episodes and the spin-off shows. I recommend this book to fans of Most Haunted and or the spin-off shows who want to know more about Yvette Fielding's life and or the shows Most Haunted and the spin-off shows and what went on there, some of the most noted ones. I don't know as anyone else will pick up this book. It does say some interesting things about the British TV industry over the past 30 years. Some positive, some not so positive. So it could be of interest in that regard too. I recognize that there are many people that think shows like Most Haunted are hokum, and those people aren't going to pick up the book. And that's fine. I haven't yet reviewed this book on Storygraph, so I haven't specifically given a rating. I think it's going to be a 3.5, 3.75. It's a good memoir, but it falls a little short of others I've read recently, like Barbara Streisand's and Britney's. And I do recognize that those books have big budgets behind them, and this book probably doesn't have as big a budget. but I have to compare them a little bit to those other books. But this is a solid book if you are one of those people who like the show Most Haunted or the spin-off shows. Or maybe even saw that feeling when she's a kid. But I think most of the people, as I said, are going to be Most Haunted fans. Next, I'm going to talk about the 4 books that I read part of this week but didn't complete. The first is Natural Beauty by Ling Huang. This is a horror novel, which is also, I believe, some commentary on the beauty industry. I think part of it's going to be how Western-centered it is. The narrator, telling the story in the first person, who has not been identified by name, is a child of immigrants, Chinese immigrants. And she goes to work at this beauty company, which the more and more I read the book seems more and more cultish. But I'll see how it turns out. But I'm enjoying it. I didn't include this book in the books I'm reading for the Spooky Scary Skeleton 2024 Halloween Readathon by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. But this book could have been included there because this is a horror novel too. This happened to be one that I had a hold on for a while on Libby, and it finally came through. The second book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA mystery, another book that I had a long hold on Libby, and it finally came through. This is a book that I learned about by Ebony at EB Reads. 5 years ago, there was a disappearance. A local girl disappeared. She was a senior in high school. Ultimately, suspicion turns to her boyfriend. He ends up unaliving himself. He's determined by the police to be the one who killed her. Well, actually, he's determined by the police to be the one who caused her disappearance. A body isn't found, but she is declared dead a certain time later. I think this book is going to talk about a lot of stuff. The boy who unalived himself was a Indian descent, and there's issues there in this town. Interestingly, it's a small Connecticut town, and I'm from Connecticut. I like to think that kind of some of the things in this book wouldn't happen in Connecticut, but I know they do, especially in small towns. The third book is Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. This is a book I'm reading as part of the I'm With a Band book club moderated by MJ. This is the October read. Not too far in this book. I got a slow start from all the other books I've been reading. Little ways in though. This is a dystopian novel, and so far it's set in 2 different time frames. There's a character called Snowman, and something occurred and things got really bad, at least for him. And then there's his earlier time before this occurred, when things appear good, but there's you can see cracks in what's going on. So far it's really grim, but I do like dystopian novels, and I think this book is going to be quite a compelling read. Good choice for the book club. It was chosen because it's a book that's in a recent book banning in Utah. It was one of the, I think, 13 books. So that was why this book was chosen. And the final book that I read part of this week is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. This is a book that I'm reading as part of Tiachu's book club, moderated by Tiachu. This is the October read. I'm reading this book as part of the Spooky Scary Skeleton 2024 Halloween Readathon by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. I haven't read too much of this book. It looks cute so far. It's like a modern world, but there are witches in it, and for some reason the witches need to stay hidden, not have society aware of them. And I don't know what that is yet. There is one witch who posts videos on her social media where she pretends to be a witch, even though she really is a witch. And she thinks by doing that, nobody's going to realize she's a witch, but somebody does. And that leads to for in their book, which that's kind of right where I am now, so I don't know where it's going. But I think this is kind of a cozy book, so perhaps a balance to Oryx and Crake. Now I'm going to talk about 2 books I got recently. And those 2 books are the 2 I already mentioned. And that's The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. I bought that book on Fable. I'm not totally sold on the benefits of buying books on Fable and that helping being in a book club talking about the book, but I did buy this one on Fable, and we'll see. And the second book is Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood, which I also mentioned previously. This was very fortuitous. A couple weeks back, I put a hold on this in Libby. It said it'd be available in 2 weeks or so, but it was available a little quicker than that. As a matter of fact, it came in on October 1, which is pretty perfect, even though I didn't start it right then. Next, I want to talk about the Wobble I'm currently working on, and that Wobble is Snooky the Ghost. I've completed the body. I have to crochet and attach arms. I have to add the mouth, and add a couple of little pink cheek things. This is the first of the Halloween Wobbles I'm working on. I have a whole set of Halloween Wobbles. And this kind of fits in with the mood of the month. Next, I'm just going to show a short clip of the Himeji Castle Lego set I've been working on, so you can see where I've been. Should say too, I don't work on the Wobble or Lego set every day. That's why it may seem like it takes me a long time to complete these items. Just kind of going to scan, get a little closer, and scan the Himeji Castle sets. And pull back a little to just give a total view of it. And as far as music I've been listening to, as I was walking at the local mall, I listened to music by 9 Inch Nails, The Offspring, and My Chemical Romance. I watched a few WNBA games. The WNBA are in their playoffs in the second round. Connecticut Sun, which is the team that I like, is down their series 2-1, and things aren't looking too good for them. It's a 5-game series. They won the first game and lost the last 2. Other than that, I got a couple of blood tests for a couple of upcoming medical appointments I have next week. Walked outside a couple times in addition to walking at the mall because it's very nice here now. Temp in the low to mid-70s during the day, clear, sunny, nice days, nice fall days. I'd be interested in hearing how your week went, both reading-wise and otherwise. Please reply in the comments if you'd like to let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you have a wonderful reading week, and I hope you have a wonderful week in general.